I want to briefly talk about the importance of being a warrior. And there is a particular quote by Heraclitus, which I want to recite, where he says, out of every 100 men, 80 shouldn't even be there. 10 are merely targets. 9 are the real fighters, who we are grateful for they make it a battle. But the one is a warrior, and he will bring them all home. This, I believe to be extremely important. And I think I talked about this yesterday. I can't remember. But if I did, allow me to re-elucidate. And I guess elaborate further on the subject of why I think it is important for a man to be a warrior and to cultivate himself into a disciplined individual, which is something obviously that I've been talking about for the past couple of lectures. But I want to keep talking about it because I think that it is extremely important. And the more I think about it, the more I seem to understand. The more I practice it, the more I see what it produces. The discipline is what I'm talking about. And the 3 essential tenets which I've been focusing on in my everyday life, in which I remind myself of every morning, is 1, patience, 2, silence, and 3, discretion, which I have talked about before. But it's interesting to see what happens when you implement these 3 tenets into your life. Because you see, I believe what begins to happen is that what you are doing when you are being patient and silent and practicing discretion is that you are taking a dive within. You're plunging the depths of your own soul and figuring out your own darkness. You are, how you might say, you are basically going through what they call the hero's journey, is what I'm trying to say. And this is important for the cultivation of the hero. Because first you must be silent and you must look within. And you must think lightly of yourself and deeply of the world, so that you can observe reality pragmatically and extrapolate things through your own personal philosophy, which is why I believe that it is extremely important to write. Because not only should you be observing the world, you should also be writing about it, because this is going to help you understand it better. You're structuring your thoughts. And this is what I want to talk about. Structure, order. You see, women demand order, structure, and consciousness from men. And us as men, what we want from our woman is more vulnerability in the continuation of love. And you see, a woman will not give you that level of vulnerability and trust and openness that you desire from her until you offer her a certain level of structure, consciousness, and order. She wants to be led by you. She does not want to follow you. And you see, she will test you constantly. And you must be scrupulously aware of this. This is why I believe it is vitally important to implement and assimilate these 3 tenets which I have been talking about into your daily routine. Because this is going to begin to help you in everyday life, in encounters with people, not only with your woman or other women, but also people in general, other males, and things of that nature. You see, this is why I believe that these 3 tenets are extremely important. Because what you'll begin to find is that you start to observe people, and in your silence, you see things that you did not see before because you are not talking. And this gives you great insight. And it gives you the upper hand. And it helps you in your ability to lead. You see? And you must be humble, because I believe that it is important to surround yourself with other strong men. And the way that you figure out if men are strong is by observing them and testing them in certain ways. Testing their strength, seeing if they can maintain eye contact, if their chest is up, if they're confident. These are things that you need to pay attention to, because I believe that we are stronger together. Alone, sure, we can get a lot done for ourselves, but together, we can do a lot more. And as a leader, you must be able to bring people together. You see, this is what a leader does. He guides and leads men. And not only men, but women too, and children. He leads everybody. And this is why I believe he needs to be extremely attentive, scrupulous, and philosophically experienced. So, as I was saying, structure. This is very important. And you will begin to realize that when you structure your life to a certain extent, what is happening is that you are essentially shining your light. Right? You see, this is what the sun does. It's very bright, it's big, and things gravitate around it. They fall into its gravity. Into the warped space around the object, I guess, is what technically happens. You see, because the sun is so massive and so bright, smaller objects with less mass seem to fall into its field, I guess is what we could call it. Because you see, gravity is essentially a field, which is why most quantum physicists call it quantum field theory. Because, you see, the world is essentially fields. Nonetheless, when you begin to structure your life, what you are doing is creating. And you see, akin to God, who creates, you become like that. And naturally, people, and not only people, but everything starts to gravitate towards you. Because you're becoming more massive and you are shining brighter, and people want to be warmed by you. They want to be nourished by you and led by you. You see, just like a plant utilizes the sun to photosynthesize, people want to be led by other individuals who offer them structure, order, and consciousness. You see, it is not only women who desire this, it is all people. All people want structure in their life. They want it to be ordered. They want it to make sense. And as a leader, you can offer them this. You can offer them an understanding of the world. Wisdom is what you might call it. And wisdom is very important. And it is very beneficial to offer people wisdom. And to have wisdom for yourself so that you can offer it. Which is why you need to be silent. And you need to observe the world pragmatically. So that you can cultivate your own personal philosophy. And begin to understand the world on a deeper level in a way that most people do not. And then, subsequently, or rather consequently, people will want to be led by you. And in particular, your woman will want to be led by you. She will open herself up and she will offer you that vulnerability that you are so desiring. But you see, she will not give this to you until you have ordered yourself, until you offer her structure. So in the morning, you must get up. And what I want you to do, and this is something I've told you before, but I want to re-elucidate because I believe that it is crucially and vitally important and completely necessary for your personal development. What I want you to do is get your journal out. If you do not have one, go buy one. And what I want you to do is write down things that I need to do today. And then I want you to write down everything that you need to get done that day. And then, like I have told you before, I want you to write a 1, 2, 3, 4 in accordance with the importance of the thing. And you must get the most important thing done, and then you move your way down. And like I have told you before, you're not going to be completely accurate with this from the beginning because it takes a certain level of discipline. But over time, you will begin to become more disciplined, and you will achieve your original goal that you have set out in the beginning of the day with 100% accuracy. And this will feel amazing. And then what you will realize is that you're offering structure to the world because you have yourself become structured. You have structured your life and you have gotten your priorities straight. You see, this is one thing you need to understand. As a man, you must structure your life. And as a person who wants to be hyper-productive and hyper-competitive in the world and achieve great success, you must structure your life in a way where you are not focusing on things that are not progressing you. This is vitally important because what will happen is that you will find out when you begin to implement this practice that you are no longer spending your time on things that do not matter, that are not progressing you forwards. Because, well, they aren't getting you towards that goal that you have set for yourself, that ideal. And what happens when you become this person, like I've said, is that people tend to gravitate towards you. Because you see, it's an energy thing and they can feel it. What you are doing is manifesting. You become like a magnet. You really do. You feel it. Things, not only people, but everything starts to gravitate towards you. It's like there's a quote, I think Carl Jung said it, although I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was Carl Jung, where he said, what you are seeking is seeking you. And I believe this to be profound, because I do believe that what you are seeking is seeking you. And you see, the world does not lie to you, right? So, if you are not the person that you think you are, if you are deluded, if you are myopic, nearsighted, and narcissistic, the world will not give you what you think you are, and this will make you angry. But because you are deluded and unequivocally delusional, you're going to convince yourself through your own narcissism that you are still this person. And this is, as I have previously elucidated, completely and utterly myopic. It is nearsighted. You become dumb. And you're very susceptible to becoming what you might call a dogmatist or a tyrant, especially if you are in a position of power. You see, if you are in a position of power where you can make decisions and those decisions have an impact on a large group of individuals, then I believe that it is very important to pay attention to yourself and to be scrupulous and diligent and conscious. And if you're one of those people and you're listening to this and you believe that you are not that, well, then you should be very careful. And if you're a person who is striving to become that, well, then you're at a good place because you can start at the bottom. We must all start at the bottom, right? Even if you were born into a position of preeminence, you still have to start at the bottom within yourself, right? You need to, as Jung said, individuate. You need to pass through your shadow, your anima, and then the senex. That is the sequential steps in the individuation process. So you need to go through your shadow, and then to your anima, the opposite, and then to the senex, the old man, wisdom. And that is how you reach your true self, your soul. And if we speak about it alchemically, you need to pass through the calcinadio to the, I think it's rubedo, and then the citronitis into the albedo, which is the whitening. And it is in the albedo where the individual experiences the conjunctio, which is translated into the conjunction. And I think Carl Jung wrote a book, I think it's one of his collected works, where he talks all about I think it's entitled The Mysterium Conjunctiones, where he talks all about the mysterious conjunction, which is the last step in the transmutational process of alchemy. And you see, this is a fundamental story which originated in Egypt, if I'm not mistaken. I think that is where alchemy originated. Alchemy is the precursor to the more modern day chemistry. And they were focused on, or rather they put their attention on the transformational nature of reality. And not only just reality, but of the psyche. And they believed that the psyche could be transformed. I guess this is a form of what you might call idealism. It's the belief in the fact that the world is essentially mental, and not, on the opposing end, what the materialists would say, concrete, I guess. They would say that the world is mental, opposed to the opposing belief that the world is material. They would believe that the world can be transformed with your mind. Nonetheless, this is what I'm saying. This is important to understand all of this stuff, because I believe that this makes you a better leader. And what you realize through all of this is that what you're doing is structuring your own reality. And like I've said, things start to gravitate around you. You become like the sun. And you are in fact like the sun. You are a massive object. I guess you might say you're a magnet. You're magnetic. And we are all energy, right? So if you're a high vibrational being and you're extremely magnetic, well, everybody else is also an energetic being, and everything else in the world is an energetic thing. So therefore, if you're a high vibrational being, then things are going to naturally gravitate towards you through what you might call magnetism. You become like a magnet. And yes, this is what I wanted to talk about. And I think that it is very important to understand as a man. Because as men, the world is difficult. Not to say that it's not difficult for women. It is also difficult for them. The world is a difficult place for everything. Plants, animals, fish, reptiles, everything on this planet is undergoing hardship. Another thing I wanted to say and talk about is adaptation and how it relates to hyper-competitiveness and hyper-productivity. You see, if you want to become a leader and a preeminent figure, if you want to make an impact on the world and become hyper-productive and hyper-competitive, you need to understand the implications of adaptation. You see, adaptation is the very thing which drives change. And competition is the very thing which, I guess, is the catalyst for adaptation. So you see, through competition, and in particular through competition within species, this is the thing that drives adaptation. This is the very thing which makes species evolve. And evolution seems to be the very thing which prevails. You see, throughout the course of time, since 4.5 billion years ago, when primeval plankton arrived in the primeval waters of Earth, when they began to utilize the sun's light for photosynthesis, ever since then onwards, there has been competition on the planet. And this competition is the very thing which has driven adaptation. And over the course of billions of years, there has been countless amounts of different animals and species on the planet. And they have all shared one thing in common. They have all been subjected to competition, which, obviously, forces them to adapt to their environment. And this is very important. You see, out of all of the creatures, all of the living things which have been on this planet, 99% of them have died off. And it is now, everything that is alive now, only the 1% of things that have survived. And you see, over the course of that time, things have evolved and adapted to the environment and to the malleus of their own ecosystem. And this is very important. And this is especially important for you to understand, because what it tells you is that you can adapt, you can become better, and you can become great.